Tell me about the importance of doing this resource fair that you've done in the past. Just literally share from the beginning your passion for veterans and how you came about doing this annual fair.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting story. Well, first of all, I was raised in the VFWs, American Legions. My dad was commander of one of the posts, and actually in Holiday. So we used to go to a lot of the events, and I garnered so much respect for our veterans, or through American heroes. And then what happened was, when I was running for in 2005 for Congress, we didn't want to do a fundraiser, but we wanted to do an event actually for the veterans. And I asked Tony Orlando and Don, and some of the young people don't know, but the tie yellow ribbon around the old oak tree, and he had the television show in the early 70s. You were probably 2 years old, but I was older, so I remember it. But anyway, Tony is a friend of mine and a veterans advocate. So he came to Tarpon Springs and talked about veterans, how we can help veterans. And we invited the community, everyone, whoever would like to come. It was an overwhelming success. So then I said, you know what, let's do an annual veterans fair. And Tony came to the first one, and he's been to about 5 or 6 since then. I've been in Congress with my 14th year. What we wanted to do is a fair. So, the entertainment is great and honoring our heroes, but we want to make sure we have the resources out there for them to get help. VA came and actually they did some health care on site for our veterans, dental care, what have you. And then also, you want to make sure that the services are available, that they have access to services. VA, but also nonprofits. Yeah. We have wonderful nonprofits in our area. This is the #1 area, in my opinion, in the country for veterans.
That's wonderful to hear. So I'm so glad that you told me about the evolution, because tomorrow I get the opportunity to meet many of the people that you work with every year to make sure our veterans have their resources.
Sure.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you think this fair does specifically for veterans and the resources they're going to receive in light of COVID?
Yeah, well, of course you have COVID, and hopefully we'll have offering telehealth, and that's so very important. And then there's still an opportunity for alternative therapies. So we have a lot of nonprofits that will be there, such as Veteran Alternative, now maybe virtually, but for alternative therapies and complementary therapies, they work so well. So the resources, the VA has a lot of resources. Again, our community, the nonprofits do a wonderful job, even during COVID. So we want to make sure that, because all the good programs in the world won't help if people don't have access to them, and there needs to be public awareness. Now, when we used to do the fair, I haven't had an entertainment portion in a couple of years, but we would honor veterans. For instance, we had one honoring specifically Vietnam veterans, Welcome Home, and Tony came to that. And veterans had tears in their eyes. Hundreds of veterans would come, not just from my district, from all over Florida, and we would honor them and thank them. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And they would come up to me and they say, now we feel like we've been welcomed home. Yeah. So it's the resources, which is the most important thing, but also making them feel wanted. Yes. And really, we are grateful for their service.
Well, I'd like to say lastly, because I know you have so much going on, and I know you're headed out today, actually.
Yeah.
With so much going on in the world right now and on the congressional level, what would you like to say to our county about veterans and what we can do better in our county to support the people who do so much for us as a country?
Yeah. Well, I just say that, we have to be, first of all, overall, we have to be united as a country. And unfortunately, these are very difficult times. But we need to sit across the table and talk these things out. Okay, and then we also must continue to honor our true American heroes, our veterans. And we can't do it as much face to face these days, but you can do there's a lot of virtual events that are going on. And then also, what I'd like for people to do is maybe if you know a veteran, give them a call and see how they're doing, and reach out to them and say that you really care about them. Yeah. That goes a long way as well.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
What a wonderful love note to send to our veterans. Thank you for your time,
My
sir,
pleasure.
and safe travels.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Welcome to the Institute of Strategic Policy Solutions. My name is Kimberly Jackson, and I'm the Executive Director. This week, we're working with Congressman Gus Bilirakis on shedding light and promoting veteran resources that are much needed at this time during COVID. Annually, Congressman Gus Bilirakis does this program in person, but of course we can't today. So we're happy to support him and happy to bring opportunities and enhance programming for veterans in the community. Just so you know, the Institute for Strategic Policy Solutions is a think tank created by Congressman Bill Young as a way to do exactly this, bring the government closer to the people and to have a forum and be a convener for these civic conversations. So today I'm here with Tom Udano, and he represents AmSkills. And what they do, which he's going to share shortly, is help our veterans and our greater community with important job skills. Is that accurate?
Absolutely,
Okay.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about your program, and first of all, welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me. My name is Tom Madano. I'm the Executive Director of AmSkills, Manufacturing Training and Apprenticeships. And our mission is to transform lives through workforce training and apprenticeships. And so many of our veterans, our young adults, even adults who are unemployed, just don't know what career path to go. And so we have developed hands-on training programs specifically to help them figure it out, but more importantly, train them on how to get the job. And even more importantly, we put them in front of companies and get them those interviews so they're able to get the job immediately.
So walk me through. I'm a veteran and I'm just acclimating or transitioning back into the community, and someone refers me to you. Walk me through the process from there, or how do they even get to you?
Well, the best way is, of course, through our website, amskills.org. A lot of information there. But what we do is we've created a boot camp program. Okay. Actually, it's called the AmSkills Career Discovery Workshop and Boot Camp. Mm-hmm. And this is a mobile unit that allows us to travel throughout Tampa Bay. Okay. And we've got one coming up here in the Lealman community in September. Mm-hmm. So the benefit of this is it will come to an area where people live. Yes. And then we work with companies surrounding that particular area. So there'll be guaranteed job interviews with multiple companies at the conclusion of the 2-week boot camp.
Well, that's lovely. So I understand. So your mobile bus with skilled people go into a community, and then those people come for like a fair, if you will. Do they take a test? Do they write down their interests? Do they write down their background? How do you match what they're likely good at or interested in with an employer or a potential employer?
Well, actually, it's a little more innovative and hands-on than that. So essentially, it's a 1-day workshop to start, all day on a Saturday, followed by 2 weeks of 8 to 4 working at this particular location. But you're doing multiple hands-on projects. You're building a 3D printer, for instance. You're learning how to cut metal. You're learning how to make different projects. And throughout the process, you're being evaluated, but you're also getting to figure out which type of, what do you like to do? Soldering. Lockheed Martin comes in and does a soldering project. But you also get to go on tours to different these companies, and then they come in and do lunch and learns. The whole point of it is to help the candidate, if you will, or the veteran to figure out what path they want to go. Do they want to go into machining? Yes. Do they want to go into what's called mechatronics, which is industrial maintenance and things like that? There's so many jobs. A lot of people don't know this, but Tampa Bay has the most number of manufacturing jobs in the state of Florida.
Really?
So there's a lot of opportunity. The boot camp we have coming up in September, we have 6 companies that are participating with over 43 jobs.
And how many of these programs do you do in a year?
We are actually have funding to do one a month.
One a month.
So starting in September, we're going to be here in Pinellas County. Then we'll be going to Pasco, back to Pinellas. So we'll be doing one in Hillsborough County as well. So the best way is to find out where, again, where do they live, and then also find a boot camp that would be closest to them.
So a couple of questions from that. How do they apply, and has this process changed in light of COVID at all?
Okay. Again, the applying process is going online to amskills.org and registering there. We then will talk with you, call just to make sure it's a good fit. It is 2 weeks of your time, so it's important we have commitments, but you're guaranteed a job interview again at the end with multiple companies. In regards to COVID, we back in January we did our first one in Pinellas, and we had 20 go through the program. With COVID, we reduced it to 16. We have actually added, of course, mandatory mask. But we've also built, being in manufacturing, we built plexiglass dividers, if you will, but still allows people to do hands-on projects, team projects, and those type of things. But we're able to maintain that safe environment.
And so is that your average amount of people who are able to do 16 per session when you travel around?
If we didn't have COVID, we would go up to 24.
Okay.
But because of COVID, we reduced it to 16. So there are, of course, limited spaces. But again, if you miss this one here, maybe if you're willing to travel, it depends on where you live. We're going to be doing one in Oldsmar in November, for instance. So it just depends on where you live, and then making sure you get registered early. But the great thing, and I just would like to share this one. So in our January one that we did, we actually have helped several veterans. And in our January program, we actually worked with the veteran who was homeless at the time. Went through the program. We got him hired at a local manufacturer, and within 2 months, he was out and living in an apartment. He's still, even through COVID, we still have over 80% of those hired are still working since January.
That's wonderful. So then do you work with other agencies with the other necessities they need once they get the job?
Yes, it's really critical that we partner with other nonprofits and other agencies. Number one, they may have candidates or to refer to come to the boot camps. That's one. But also, we do provide coaching. We want long-term careers. We're not looking to just put somebody into a job and say, okay, see you later. So we have coaching skills, but we also work with others on other organizations to help with those other supportive functions that are if they're needed.
Right. Is there anything else you want to share about your wonderful program? I had one other question that I thought about. When you do this, do you have a veterans section only, and then because you serve a lot of people, or do you mix and blend veterans with non-veterans for these programs? At
this point in time, we've just been inviting veterans to participate in those that we already have. However, we've been talking with Congressman Bilirakis as well about maybe having one at the VA, for instance, where we would just go there, because that's the beauty of having the mobile system. We can come into a location, run it for a couple weeks, and then we're gone. And we bring everything in and we take everything out. So we love the idea of having one that would be dedicated to veterans, bringing it to where they are already used to coming, and seeing if we can't get them employed from there. But I also want to just mention, Congressman Bilirakis has been a huge supporter of ours, and we just can't thank him enough and all of his staff, because we really have been launched and been doing this for several years. And this boot camp model is really helping get people to work. And then once they're employed, we can then work them into apprenticeships to give them more training, because they're not, just because you go through the program, you're not a machinist. You just may know you want to be a machinist. So then we'll work with everybody to help get them that continued training.
Well, I think your organization is important because you're not only teaching a skill, but you're teaching sustainability. You're also teaching people how to be self-sufficient and how to get back to life, which is just, that's what we all want to do with all of the nonprofit organizations that we serve or support. So I'd like to also take the opportunity to thank you for coming and thank again Congressman Bill Rackus. He certainly has a vision and a passion for veterans, and it's evident from the many people who are coming here today to share what they do for veterans. So thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
I'm here with Brian Anderson, and he represents Veterans Alternative. Yep. And do I have that accurate?
You do.
Okay.
Brian Anderson, Veterans Alternative.
Okay. So I just want to know a little bit about you and your story, and if you can share with me why that you created this, because you're the CEO and founder.
Yes, that's correct. Well, Veterans Alternative really, I guess selfishly, came because I came home from war and I had a lot of difficulties just kind of navigating and becoming a civilian.
Yes.
It was really hard post-service. So some of these therapies that we utilize at the Veterans Alternative, they're the ones that saved my life.
Okay.
And, I remember the difficulties I had just driving down the road. I would see a fallen teammate drive the car next to me, or I'd imagine bullets going through my head or rage just coming through the door. And these are some of the intrusive thoughts that maybe come from combat experience for a lot of warriors.
Yes.
And we wanted to make it as easy and streamlined for them to live a healthy, connected, and resilient life. So through those services I received, the Veterans Alternative was created, and we're going 5 years strong. So we just had our 5-year anniversary, May 25th, Memorial Day. Kind of a little coincidence, May 25th, 2015 was also Memorial Day when we had our grand opening.
That's wonderful.
So yeah, we've been at it for over 5 years, and we're looking to keep on growing and serving more warriors.
Tell me about the therapies you learned and how you transitioned to teach other warriors those therapies through your organization.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing is I tried a lot of different therapies. The thing is everybody's a little bit different.
Okay.
And we're dealing with comorbid issues. When we're coming home from war, maybe there's traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress. And the one that we don't really always talk about is transitional stress. What is it like to leave a community that you've been around for 14 years, 20 years, 8 years, whatever it is, and go into a community that's completely different? That transitional stress is quite traumatic in itself. So I remember going through my very first session of a therapy called accelerated resolution therapy, and I did it for a couple of fallen teammates. That firefight, we're actually coming up to the 10-year anniversary, September 29th, 2010. Calvin Harrison and Mark Forrester were both killed in an Operation Sundown. And my very first ART session was that. And the problem that I was having was these intrusive thoughts.
Yes.
And after that first session, I had no more intrusive thoughts. And so I became such a huge advocate for accelerated resolution therapy. I was pushing it, but I also needed to calm down some. And I found another therapy called integrative restoration, or iRest Yoga Nidra. It is a guided meditation. Okay. And when you combine these two therapies, holy cow, you're talking about blissful. It really is a strength-based approach to serving our warriors. So we came together and we brought these two therapies. We started doing them individually, just for warriors coming in. And then we built a 5-day wellness program that we offer 2 to 3 times a month. We've done over 116 of those accelerated wellness programs is what we call them, and served over 600 or almost 600 combat veterans and their spouses. And we've got a 49% reduction on PTSD, 61 in depression, 56 in anxiety. I mean, we're really saving lives.
Yes.
And so it's quite amazing. These therapies first saved me, and now I get to see it continually on a weekly basis save other warriors' lives.
That's amazing. Can you tell me about the scope? Like, how do you reach out to veterans to get them to come to your organization? And, I think that access is always a challenge when you have veterans with challenges who want to come get the help, but they, are in a state where it's kind of hard for them to seek access to resources. How do you find them and bring them into your fold?
Well, first of all, we have 3 combat veterans that work at the Veterans Alternative. I'm more at the macro level, trying to make sure that the support comes in and helps the organization continue its mission, and I get to tell the story and provide a vision. We've got our team house manager, Chris, who is more at that meso level, like that family level, right? Like he's the one that works with all of our volunteers and our staff right there instead of team house. And then we have Travis, who's our program coordinator, another combat veteran, and he works micro. He talks directly to the warriors. So he gets on the phone as that peer mentor and guides them through some of the options they have in services. It's so easy to get in contact with us. You make a phone call, you send us an email, info@veteransalternative.org, or just call us up 727-939-8387. And within one business day, you'll be reached out to. Within one business day, we are going to make sure that we connect with you and we find you the resources, services that we're able to provide for you and help you on your journey back home.
So, in light of COVID, how has your organization transformed, or what issues do you see because of COVID?
COVID kicked our butt. It's done it to a lot of organizations and nonprofits. We got slapped. But the greatest thing was our team was magnificent. Look, you go from March 16th, we were a charity for the Valspar Championship.
Yes.
And it started on March 16th. We were supposed to have a pro celebrity am that day, and it was canceled. The whole week was canceled. And by the 23rd, the following Monday, because our number one priority was providing services to our warriors, we were fully online. We were providing virtual counseling, we were providing webinars, we were providing Zoom conferences. We were making sure that our warriors still had the opportunity to do adaptive yoga, to do iRest, the guided meditation, and then virtual ART, the accelerated resolution therapy, our main modality that we provide. We're doing that still online through virtual counseling sessions, and we're providing in-house services too. So on average, we have about 20 warriors go through 4 sessions of accelerated resolution therapy in 1 month. And then we have our week-long wellness program that we're now going on Monday will be our 6th one since COVID started. We did stop that for a while because it was really hard to kind of figure out how can we maintain safety and the atmosphere of COVID and keep everybody, keep everybody in a safe space. So physical distancing, wearing masks, sanitizing the building. We worked through that really quickly, and the team was just tremendous in making that happen.
Well, I can't thank you enough for your service and your time. You have a lot of passion. You shared something with me before we came on, so I'm hoping it's okay to say you're testifying today, right?
I am. So you know what? It's been a really fun ride going into the civilian world, even though I can see all the hiccups and trips and so forth. But I met Gus Bilirakis early on, and I was talking with him about alternative therapies. I have Hero, this beautiful service dog here.
Yes.
He helped me out quite a bit. Accelerated resolution therapy, another alternative therapy. I went through hyperbaric oxygen treatment, another alternative therapy. And we also talked a lot about transition, just what it's like to leave the military and go into the civilian world. So a few years ago, Ben Smet, a doctoral student at University of South Florida, St. Pete, and myself took on the chair of Congressman Bilirakis's transition task force. And it was to take a look at the transition assistance programs that our service branches have right now and figure out ways that we can do it better. We actually wrote a paper reconceptualizing the transition assistance program, and we came up with a new model, Success in Transition, that was published in the Journal of Veteran Services. And today at 1 o'clock, I'll be testifying in front of the Economic Opportunity Subcommittee of the Veteran Affairs Committee. The Honorable Gus Bilirakis is the ranking member there. And I'll be testifying about transition. And I'm really looking forward to that because there's more that we can do.
Yes.
If we can prevent a poor transition, then we're going to find our communities having better warriors and veterans serving in a lot more places. So it's that transition. That's one point that we can really activate that healthy, connected, and resilient lifestyle for our warriors.
And that's what it's about. It's about stronger, healthier communities.
Yep.
And of course, veterans are a huge piece of that. I have one more question in the time we have. Please tell me about Hero.
Hero is going on, he'll be 8 in April. So I got Hero in 2014, right when we were about to start building up the Veterans Alternative, actually in the midst of that. And, I really didn't know what it was like to have a service dog. I can tell you that for a lot of warriors out there, if you're thinking about getting a service dog, I think it's a great option. But you have to be a little cautious with it. You have to understand that people are going to come up and ask you, what's going on with you? What's wrong with you? Or they're going to show you some pity. And you have to learn how to adjust to that. That's just society in general. But I will tell you this, when before I had Hero, I drove like a maniac, ticket after ticket after ticket. Hero got us on the back of the car, and I drive down the road and I started driving crazy, and next thing you know, I would feel like his head against my shoulder or something of that nature, or he would go into the front seat and put his head right on my lap. And it's kind of hard to drive like a maniac when you have a beautiful golden just looking up at you saying, hey, calm down, Dad, calm down. So Hero's been a trooper, and he's quite the famous dog. So if you want to find him on Facebook, it's Hero Dog Anderson on Facebook.
He has his own Facebook page.
He's got his own Facebook. Yeah, you can follow Hero on there. And he's a mascot for the Veterans Alternative. He's there at the team house with our warriors while they're going through the services that they receive. And it's really hard to have a full plate of anxiety when you have a beautiful golden just ready and willing for you to pet.
Yes. Well, I wish you well this afternoon. I know that you will have strong testimony. I thank you for your time, for coming here today and fitting us in your schedule. Yeah. And if there's anything, of course, that we can do to share those resources, we'll add it when we send you the recording. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I cannot go this whole interview without saying happy birthday to my beautiful wife, Amy. Can't wait to celebrate this weekend with you.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for the Institute for Strategic Policy Solutions for our first chat with Veterans Alternative. Nice to meet you, Brian.
Nice to meet you too, Kimberly.
And today I have with me Alexandra Sursik from Bay Area Legal Services, and we're going to chat with her a little bit about the challenges and the support that she's giving veterans, particularly in light of COVID and these trying times. So first, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Tell me a little bit about what you do. I know, of course, you're an attorney. I am as well. But tell me a little bit about what you do specifically for the agency and then for veterans.
Sure. So I'm the managing attorney for our veterans team, which is called the Major General Ernest A. and Marilyn Bedke Veterans Law Center.
That is a mouthful.
It is.
Okay.
It is. But we were able to establish a veterans team in 2019. We're really excited about that because Bay Area Legal has, of course, served veterans as long as we've been around, which has been since 1967. But we did feel the need to carve out services specifically for veterans a few years ago, and we're able to make that happen. So Bay Area Legal overall serves probably about 16,000 people per year, and about 1,300 of those each year are veterans.
So are the 1,300 primarily in Pinellas County, or do you have different areas?
So we actually, Bay Area Legal serves in Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas, also some services in Manatee and Sarasota. And then we have 2 statewide helplines. One is a senior legal helpline and one is a veterans legal helpline, which was recently established. So including all those different offices and counties, that's where the 1,300 comes from that we serve.
Prior to COVID, what were you doing for veterans?
So we've able to actually been maintaining pretty much the same thing. We have our statewide Veterans Legal Helpline, where veterans can call in and get advice and brief services over the phone. We can also, if they're within our service area, provide extended services.
So services meaning like how to find a house, how to go back to school, how to get resources for support with cognitive support or challenges in that way?
So really a pretty wide variety, but it will be civil legal issues. The most common things that we see are problems with housing. Okay. For example, evictions, which are a hot topic right now, foreclosures, but even if it's not actually a case, just maybe problems with the landlord, like poor housing conditions. That's a really big problem that we see. Also, a very common issue would be relating to family law. So if people need protection from domestic violence, or if people need to get a divorce, or need help with those kinds of issues, those are also very common civil legal issues that we can provide advice and assistance on.
So I said prior to COVID, so now that COVID is here, a lot of veterans are saying that they have more challenges. Do you find that you're experiencing a spike or an overload because of challenges related to COVID?
It's interesting because I think we saw a decrease at first because I think people were just really obviously caught off guard by COVID and had other priorities other than their legal issues initially, but we are definitely seeing an increase again. And other than our statewide helpline, we also have 2 medical legal partnerships at VA facilities. So in Pinellas County at Bay Pines, we do have a medical legal partnership there where we have attorneys that go on site several times a week normally. And then in Tampa at the James A. Haley Veterans Hospital, we have an attorney that goes several times a month. So we have had to put those in-person meetings on hold. We're not going into the VA hospitals right now, but we are still providing services. There's a phone number, people can call us for phone appointments.
For our broader community who may not understand why a medical attorney would be needed, could you explain briefly?
So medical legal partnerships are really important because for example, veterans are already accessing the VA for services, right? So they're already comfortable going there. They trust the people that they're working with there. And we are trying to be just another service that can be available to them when they're accessing services for their mental and physical health, or their benefits, for example. So by being present in the VA medical center, we're more accessible. We are hopefully getting referrals from, for example, the social workers or the physicians that are there in the hospital, or the psychologists that are in the hospitals. So we are not advising on medical issues, but we're trying to help the patients at those hospitals with their civil legal issues, which in turn can help their health. Because if we can help relieve some stress related to income maintenance or housing instability, that has an overall benefit for the veteran for their health as well.
So of course you mentioned housing, and I know we talked about a lot of your services, but you're right, housing is going to be a big issue, particularly as some of the bandages that were placed to stop the bleeding are going to be let loose soon. How do you foresee handling the overload of veterans who have homelessness or home insecurity based on a landlord-tenant relationship?
Well, we're definitely gearing up to get ready for that. Bay Area Legal, that's kind of the bread and butter of what we do, is trying to preserve people's housing stability. So definitely veterans or those in the household with veterans can call us if they are worried about eviction. We'll be able to talk to them, see if we can actually represent them in court. We alone won't be able to serve the need of all those that are going to be in need, but we're developing a pro bono partnership program to help bring in attorneys from the community to help with this as well. So we're really trying to get ready so that we can handle the demand, and definitely people can give us a call to see if there's something that we can do to help, because there may be ways that they can fight the eviction, and it's not always necessarily intuitive or something that someone would know just by common sense. It really helps to speak to an attorney if you're facing such a case.
And how do you get the word out finally? Like, how do veterans know when they're dealing with so many issues that Bay Area Legal Services exist, and that they can call the hotline to get a variety of legal resources from medical to housing and other? How do they know to access you?
So we do have a website, so we try to be searchable. If people are searching for free legal services online, they should find us. But we also try to keep good relationships with other community service providers, so that, if somebody calls in to 211, they'll be directed to us for legal resources, because sometimes people don't always know that they're having a legal problem. They might just know they're having a problem and not recognize it's a legal issue. So we really try to be out in the community and letting other service providers know about us as well. We do partner with St. Vincent de Paul and their SSVF program. They refer clients to us. lots of other folks in the community are trying to help steer the clients our way, but they can always call us and get an appointment to speak with an attorney. I know that Congressman Bill Rackes's office also knows about us, and if people call with questions, they can refer them to us as well. So trying to make ourselves known among the service providers is really important too, because that way if there's no wrong door, they could call one agency but still get directed to us.
I think that's really important what you said. I just want to share with our viewers, for those of you who all don't know, 211 is a broad service. You call the number and they sort of triage and direct you to the appropriate agency that can help you with your challenge. Of course, not just legal services, but a broad base of support in the community. But as Alexandra said, there are many, many resources in the community that are connected with Bay Area Legal Services. So please, if you need their support, you can contact them. Is there anything else that you want to add regarding Bay Area Legal Services and how the legal community, for example, you mentioned pro bono help, how we can do a better job of getting the word out and supporting the community during this time?
I would just say, remember that we're here, because even if you don't have a legal problem yourself, you might know somebody that does, and please provide our information to them. If there are attorneys that are willing to offer pro bono support, that's wonderful as well. We do have other volunteer capacities sometimes for folks, or they can always donate to support us and help us in our mission.
Wonderful. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're with today Tom White, who is the executive assistant and so much more for the Florida Department of Veterans, or FLDV. Do I have that right?
Florida Department of Veteran Affairs.
Florida Department of Veteran Affairs. Have to get that better. So I'm going to just ask a series of questions. And first of all, welcome. Thank you so much for coming today. Please tell me a little bit about what you do and how you support veterans.
Sure. I'm the executive assistant to the director of Benefits and Assistance for the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs, which is one of the 3 branches that the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs has. Primarily, I support the director in helping benefits and assistance for veterans. I'm also the primary trainer and accreditation point of contact for all veteran service officers for the state of Florida. Besides that, I'm also the Department Service Officer for the Department of Florida for the American Legion, which has me doing many things for the department, of which is accrediting or certifying all post-service officers for all American Legion posts in the state and acting as a point of contact for all veterans' benefits through the American Legion for the Department of Florida.
You have a big role, you need a different title, and I don't see that you can rest anytime soon.
Yes, ma'am.
So, for our broader audience, because we hope that you all share this not just with veterans, but the broader community, what does a veteran get, and walk me through again how they access resources to obtain benefits and get the resources that they need from the state?
Well, sure. The state benefits, we kind of wear a lot of different hats when it comes to benefits. We're the premier point of entry, or that is our goal, is to be the premier point of entry for all veterans in the state of Florida to getting both federal, state, and local benefits. We have offices that are in every VA hospital throughout the state of Florida and just about all of the VA outpatient clinics in the state. We also have partners at the county level, county veteran service officers, that my role is to train and accredit them through the VA and then to assist them to go out and assist veterans with benefits. We have offices for the counties in every county in the state of Florida. So veterans have a lot of different ways that they can access their benefits. Besides those that I've mentioned, veterans can simply apply for benefits right through e-benefits on the VA's website. We would encourage them not to do that because our job is to advocate for them and to help them navigate the many pitfalls that are in the VA's benefit system and even the state benefit system. Hopefully, with our advocacy, they'll be able to get the benefits the first time instead of probably going through what many people have heard, a lot of the different pitfalls and the years in the appeal system, which thankfully that's been changed through our current presidential administration with the new AMA Act that was gone into effect. So appeals go a lot faster nowadays.
So from a practical aspect, when a person is coming to seek, and you said you prefer them to come to you,
Correct.
In light of COVID, how are you encouraging people to do that?
Well, COVID's been a challenge. Majority of our offices are not open right now. We're working remotely. There are several offices that are open. Majority of the counties, from my understanding, are open. There's still some that are not. I would encourage them to contact us either at our website or call us, and we will field their questions and try to help them remotely as best as possible.
When you have challenges with, transportation and access to Wi-Fi and, other equity challenges that face many people in our communities, but oftentimes veterans, what would you say to them about, being patient and trying to get other supports while they're waiting to access benefits?
Well, veterans sometimes can be an interesting lot. There's a mindset that when accessing VA benefits that there's going to be a long wait. Some folks understand that, some veterans understand that, some don't, and some have really been through the system for a very long time. What I would encourage them to do is to contact us so we can help them navigate that. If particular transportation's an issue, some of our county partners have transportation. They offer that to them. If it's a healthcare access issue, we can contact number of our offices, like I previously mentioned, that are in the medical facilities that can help them navigate with the patient advocate office or the appropriate office in the medical center. So I would just have them contact the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs, and we would help them in any myriad of different ways to try to get the benefits or access to whatever it is that they're looking for.
Okay. In our brief little time, I want you to share anything that you have new that's going on that you like to share with the veterans from your agency, any programs or anything that you think they should know about moving forward in COVID?
Well, about a year ago, our director, who is our executive director, Danny Burgess, who is now moving on to other things, started an initiative called Forward March that the governor also was hand in hand with him on. What we're trying to do is wrap our arms around all of the assets in the state for veterans, whether they be private, whether they be county, state, you name it. Federal, we're trying to get a cohesive look at everything that is out there, and then package that into one point of entry for veterans to get any access to any benefit, anywhere, anytime.
Nice.
So far, that's been somewhat of a success. It's an ongoing project that I'm sure our next executive director will pick up, being that it's the governor wanted that to happen.
Yes.
I'm sure that will be an ongoing thing that we'll be pursuing.
Okay. Well, that sounds very interesting. You have a lot of work, a lot on your plate. Do you want to talk a little bit about, from the vantage point of, from the veterans who want to access benefits, need support, do you work with any other agencies to help them while they're in the process of waiting?
Well, we have some of our own organic agencies, and it kind of goes off of maybe the topic a little bit because we do have the veterans' homes, the skilled nursing homes, and such that if a veteran needs to get into those, we can assist them. But as far as waiting and any kind of asset for that, that's sometimes a tough thing to do. What I would suggest they do is veterans, especially if they're having financial difficulties,
yes.
And in some cases emotional difficulties, things of that nature, contact the VA suicide hotline. They are professionals at assisting veterans. And a veteran doesn't have to be suicidal to contact them either. If they're having a hard time, contact them. Go to our website. And there's also a list of all kinds of different assets for a myriad of different things, from homelessness to mental health, to different healthcare access that's in the state, both private and governmental, that can assist them. But when in doubt, the veterans should contact any of our offices. Our offices, you don't have to make an appointment. You just show up, and it's first come, first serve. Or in this case, call us and we'll try to get back to you. Our goal is to do it within 24 hours.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. You know, we have a lot of students here at our college who are veterans. We try to support them as a college. So thank you so much for the resources that you're providing, and we appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Today I'm honored to speak with Jen Licata from Canine Partners for Patriots.
Yes,
I got it right.
correct.
Yes, great. So Jen, please tell me a little bit about your agency and what you do.
Absolutely. Well, first, thank you so much for having us. It really is quite an honor to be able to be here and be able to share with you what we do at Canine Partners for Patriots. So our mission at Canine Partners for Patriots is to give both veterans and active duty a second chance at life through our service dog program. So this is specifically for veterans and active duty who have post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injury, or military sexual trauma. So our program is very unique. We are based out of Hernando County, but we service veterans all across the state of Florida and even beyond. So we're set up in a very unique structure. It is a 6-month program, and we actually have the veterans come in once a week for 24 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So we train the veteran to train their service dog. So that's unique for a number of reasons, but the veteran's involved in the training from day one, which is huge. So instead of often getting a crash course of information that took 6 months to train the dog, the veteran's involved in that process from day one. So the dog and the veteran also form a very unique bond together as well. We're really focused on being pioneers for eliminating veteran suicide because that is a huge problem in our veteran community. And we're doing all that we can really to give these veterans a second chance.
So I'm so excited to learn about this. So do you have a specific type of dog that you use, and how do you decide who gets to come to be a part of the program?
Absolutely. So I'll answer the dog question first. So we don't. That's also a very unique part about our program is we don't breed dogs. So we actually rescue our dogs. They come from surrounding shelters, adoption agencies, rescues, and we have a great working relationship with different organizations all across the state of Florida. So we bring the dogs in and they go through extensive amounts of temperament testing because we have to ensure that there's no underlying aggression or anything of that sort, that they have the right mannerism and the right temperament to be for a successful service dog. So we have a canine acquisition team, and that's their sole mission, is they're the ones out there working with the rescues and the shelters, ensuring that we can find those dogs in order to pair with our veterans. Now, to answer the veteran question, we have our application process completely online. We do have a few requirements for the veteran. They must have an honorable discharge. They must be able to pass a clean background check, no felony convictions, because we do deal with military sexual trauma patients. So we must ensure a safe environment at all times. And then they also need service-related PTSD, TBI, or MST diagnosis. It doesn't necessarily have to come from the VA, but it does have to come from either a therapist or another doctor, that sort of thing. A lot of our veterans that come to us are in the process of sometimes getting maybe their PTSD to be service connected or service related. So that's why we don't necessarily make that a hardline requirement.
Do they live on the property, or do they just come in daily?
Nope, they come in once a week. So for instance, if one of our veterans, their class was on Mondays, they'd come in every Monday for 24 weeks. Most of our veterans are across the greater Tampa Bay area, but we do have some that come from as far south as Miami and as far north as the Panhandle. Normally, if they travel outside, I think it's about a 2-hour range one direction. We help them find overnight accommodations as needed. Obviously, we can't promise anything, but we pull together our resources to ensure that they're getting the help that they need and that they're traveling safe back and forth as well.
So now, is a dog specifically trained for a particular disorder, particularly because you're having rescue dogs and not training them from pups necessarily?
So it depends a little bit. The veterans who have TBI, you will more frequently see them with larger dogs because with TBI, balance is often a problem that is associated with it. So a lot of times those dogs are used for mobility purposes. Not all veterans who have PTSD necessarily have a TBI, so they may not need that element of the program. So it really depends on the veteran specifically. But all the dogs, for the most part, are trained for the PTSD, which is the medical alert of being able to sense that heightened adrenaline, which often comes with the panic attacks and that sort of thing.
Do you have doctors on the property?
So we have a licensed clinical social worker. He is actually our veteran counselor. So he works with both our veterans and their families. He does individual counseling along with group counseling as well. He has a couple different groups. So he has an all-male veterans group, an all-female veterans group, but also a spouses group. Because a lot of times, you know, it's a very difficult thing for the spouses to go through. So being able to have that sense of community again, even for the spouses, is incredibly beneficial in the long-term success of the veteran.
So in this 24-week period where they come once a week to learn how to interact with their dog and utilize the many support resources you have, how many people do you have going through the program at once?
So normally each class has on average 8 to 10 veterans per class, no more than 10. Because we really think that it gets almost too many people at that point. So we have a class Monday through Thursday, every day of the week. Right now they're at different stages in the program. So Monday, for instance, might be a beginner class, Tuesday might be a graduate level, Wednesday might be halfway through beginner, and so on. So not all the classes are at the same point. It's a kind of a rotating calendar per se.
Your program just sounds amazing.
Well, thank you.
How many years have you been doing this?
So we were founded in November of 2014. So we've been around for a little over 5 years now. We were founded by our founder, Mary Peter. She is a certified master dog trainer. So she has extensive experience in training canines, both police work, search and rescue, service dogs. She actually had her own for-profit dog training business. And veterans were constantly being referred to her. And she would notice time and time again, they'd be very withdrawn. They would not engage. They might come to one class and then not come to another class. There was just that connection missing. And that's really when her eyes were open to the fact that we need a program specifically tailored for veterans. And that was the birth of Canine Partners for Patriots a little over 5 years ago. We have rescued over 150 dogs from shelters. So we've given them a second chance at life also. And we have over 250 veterans who have graduated the program, which is huge, just to think how much we've grown in such a short time. We're very, very honored just to be able to continue to serve our veterans in the best way we all know how.
So do you connect any members of the alumni class with new class members? Do they stay connected in any way?
Yes, so that's actually another huge part of our program, obviously with COVID and everything. It hasn't been happening like it usually does, but we actually have a whole aftercare program of our event. So the purpose of an aftercare is to be able to bring both current veterans and also graduates to come together in a community setting. And we often will do a lunch or a catering of some sort. And it's just a great time for them to be able to come together and be able to meet other veterans who have gone through the program and they have similar life experiences. And it's that sense of community again that a lot of the veterans are not necessarily connecting with since transitioning out of the military. That's probably one of the things we've missed the most with COVID and everything is because we're very blessed to have 10,000 square feet of training space. So we turn that into, we have tables out there and everything, but it's just a great time for our graduates to be able to come together, our current veterans to come together, staff, volunteers alike, and just to really be able to have that sense of community.
That's wonderful. Is there anything you want to share with our veterans? Because I know in times of COVID things are changed, but you're blessed to be outside, I assume, with doing your training programs, but are there any changes?
We have, of course, some changes. It's been a little bit of a slow transition with COVID and everything. We did have to temporarily stop in-person training for a little while. We had to make that call, and that was by far one of the most difficult calls we've ever made as an organization, because our whole mission is to bring these veterans out of isolation. And COVID is having the exact opposite impact. We're forcing our veterans into isolation, and that's not what we want to do. So we did start back up classes back a few months ago. Obviously, social distancing being concerned. We want to ensure everyone's general health and safety, but we have 10,000 square feet of, it's very similar to a warehouse training facility. So we have plenty of space. We can social distance. We can ensure that everyone has their own space, and plenty of space at that, because we do have such a great training area. Our application process is completely online for any veteran that might be interested in. It's very simple. It asks for a little bit of paperwork, but overall it's not too bad. And of course, if anyone ever has any questions, they can give us a call at the office, and we'll be happy to walk them through or answer any questions that they might have, whether our program would be a good fit for them.
One last question. Do you record any of these trainings?
Yes. Okay. So one of the big things we actually did with COVID this year was we normally traditionally do an open house. It's where we open our doors to the community, because the community has been so incredibly supportive of us over the years, and we invite them in. That was supposed to be in June. Yes. Obviously that did not happen, but we actually did a virtual open house. So in that, we actually live streamed everything to YouTube, and all of our videos are on our YouTube account now. So if anyone wants to know more details about the specific parts of the program, it's an excellent place to start. We have some of our training videos on there as well, and we will be creating more training videos as we go along and adapt to this new sense of normal.
Well, thank you so much, Jen.
Thank
it's been
you.
a pleasure.
It was a
appreciate
pleasure.
your time.
Thank you.
So I'm going to speak with Ashley Hofecker, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I was just telling her before we started that I have so many names swimming in my head of Mid-Florida Community Services. And we're going to just share some information about the importance of connecting our veterans to the community programs we have. So good morning, Ashley.
Good morning.
Thank you for your patience. I think you're the sixth person we've talked to today.
Yes, happy to be here and excited to share some information about the programs that we offer at Mid-Florida Community Services.
So just tell me a little bit about what your organization is, how it was created, and what you do.
So Mid-Florida Community Services is a community action agency, and we reach children, families, and seniors, of course veterans included, with services that create opportunities and pathways to prosperity.
Okay.
Community action as a whole was created as part of the Economic Opportunity Act of 1964, and so our organization was created or established in Hernando County in 1968. So we've been providing these services across a vast service area from Hernando Beach to Daytona Beach for over 50 years. And of course, Pasco County is included in that service area.
So you said prosperity. Can you be a little bit more specific about what you do? I mean, of course, educate us on for all people in our community, but specifically for veterans.
So the programs that we offer in Pasco County are 3 of the 8 total programs that we do offer. And the part of prosperity is increasing their access to education and job training or career and technical training, or helping them receive and be connected to secure and living wage jobs. Okay. And just financial stability, and helping kind of reduce the number of people that are living in poverty so they can thrive in the communities in which they live.
So for example, if a veteran is interested in coming to St. Pete College, for example, then they come to you, they talk to you, and then what do you do?
So that would be a portion of our family self-sufficiency program that would be available to veterans in Pasco County that are interested in seeking career and technical training or education. So they would come in and meet with our community service aides and complete the application process, go through an intake process, and find out what is it that the veteran is interested in learning or taking up, and we could connect them with those resources to get them enrolled.
So you basically walk them through the process of wherever they're trying to reach under the umbrella of prosperity, right?
Correct.
Okay. So does that include a crossover of workforce skills, and do you work with employers?
We do. We work with Pasco Hernando Career Force Board and Career Source Pasco Hernando. So that way we can help provide that career and technical training. And when we do have the referral processes in place, if there's something that the veteran or client needs that we can't actually provide, we do have resources to refer them to other partners that we have in the community to help them reach their goals.
Okay. And you mentioned referrals. So is that how a veteran comes to your agency?
A veteran can come to our agency just by their own interest or desire. So we have, kind of as a result of COVID, we've had to find a way to reach our clients differently. So we've developed an online scheduling tool and a phone tool for veterans or clients to call that want to set up an appointment or get assistance or just ask some informational questions to find out if we have any services that can meet their needs. So no, you do not need a referral to come to our agency by any means. And if you come to our agency and you have needs that we don't specifically address through our programs, we can definitely refer our clients and veterans to other partners that we do have to help them find those resources.
Some of the people I was speaking with earlier had a couple of limitations on application. Do you all have any limitations on who can apply?
No limitations on who can apply. We just have program requirements that we have to uphold because most of our programs are grant funded. So there's certain federal or state requirements that we have to meet, and that would be determined through the eligibility and intake screening process.
So then tell me, how have you helped people? Share some stories about some of your success stories from veterans in particular who have come to your organization and have come out better because of it.
We have, this will have to be a story about Hernando County. We operate a specific program in Hernando County called Trans Hernando, which is a program in which we help provide transportation services to transportation disadvantaged residents and clients. And a portion of that program is our Veterans Ride program. So through that program, we are able to provide a reduced ridership fee to veterans and their spouses to get to medical appointments, food shopping. If they just need that transportation support, we're able to help them so they are able to remain independent if that's the only piece lacking from that self-sufficient goal that we strive for.
Okay. What else do you want to share with us about your program and how you're helping people?
We're just really excited to be able to serve the communities and help folks reach and achieve their goals so they can thrive and just enjoy life and give back to their communities as well.
Well, thank you for your time. You provided an informational slide, so I hope our audience can see the many resources that this organization provides. If you're looking on your screen now, you should be able to see how to access and contact Ashley, and more resources about how to reach your level of prosperity, not just for veterans, but for the community abroad. And we thank you so much for your time today and appreciate your commitment to veterans.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We're happy and honored to serve the veterans who serve us.
I'm here with Patty Templeton of One Community Now, and I'm honored to have a conversation with you because in talking to you before we started, you certainly do a lot. Let me know, can you just share a little bit with our program today about what exactly you do and what One Community Now does?
Sure, yes. One Community Now, we're a nonprofit organization based out of Pasco County, but we provide services for especially veterans across the Tampa Bay area. Our mission is to work together to change lives, and we do that as we partner with churches and nonprofit organizations, government agencies, and individuals in our community. And we look for those needs that are not being met, and then we try to come up with solutions. How can we best meet those needs for our community?
Well, you were telling me about travel and corralling veterans and putting them in one place to give them services over a weekend, as you said. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yes, each year we offer a program. It's called Operation Stand Down. It's typically in the fall. This year we've had to move it to the spring of 2021. And it's a weekend event. So what we do is we advertise it in the community, and we bring vets in if they can't provide their own transportation. So we go as far as St. Petersburg and Tampa, into Hernando County and all of Hillsborough County. And we bring the vets in, and we're primarily focusing on those that are homeless or at risk of being homeless. But the stand down itself is open to any veterans. The services we provide include things like dental, medical, legal services, mental health, counseling, and then there's also the recognition of the veterans. So we just make it like a one-stop shop where the veterans can come out, they can learn about whatever benefits they're entitled to. We have the VA representatives there, and they just have the time to spend with each of the vendors that are there. Typically, there's over 60 different vendors at our weekend event. And then we also house the vets. So those that are homeless, they're able to stay with us. We provide all of their meals. They spend the night. We work with one of the schools in Pasco County, and we have cots, so we kind of make that military experience come back. And then we're able also, through the generosity of so many volunteers and organizations in our community, we're able to provide the veterans with new shoes or boots, underwear, backpacks, just to really help them get back on their feet. Our main focus is trying to get them housed and employed, but we do have the free dental services. Usually we see about 350 veterans over the weekend. And in our last stand down, 109 of them receive free dental services, and that includes things like fillings and extractions and cleanings. We've even had some dentists that have offered to help them afterwards with things like dentures.
Well, my husband will be mad at me. He's a dentist, so I'll put him on your list.
We'll put them on there.
So you're saying they're actually getting the services. So there's a medical doctor there providing services, not just doing intake and saying perhaps that you have cholesterol issues, but actually doing a physical exam and then providing services that they can on site?
They do, yes. We have things like vision and cancer screening and hearing tests, in addition to podiatrists that might be there in the dental. One of the other key programs that we offer is our legal services. Now, being in Pasco County, we're limited to only being able to address Pasco County offenses, but Judge Sean Crane comes to the event with the Public Defender's Office, and we have attorneys that volunteer their time, and they're able to actually present cases and go through them before the judge. Last year at our stand down, we had over 79 cases that were heard, and that ended up in resulting in about $45,000 in fees and fines that the judge dismissed. And then when those veterans, after that's been released from them, they're able to go out. We have the Flowmobile on site, and they can go right out and get their driver's license or state ID. So the whole idea is just to help them, enable them so that they can get back into their life, that they don't have any barriers keeping them from getting jobs and finding housing.
This sounds like a phenomenal weekend. I mean, in a weekend, you're saying that you get dental care, health care, legal services, employment services. You get to, good meals, which is necessary, and rest. Where do you do all this?
Yeah, actually we hold it at an event called, or a location called the Concourse Rotary Pavilion. It's on State Road 52 near the Suncoast Parkway. And it's an outdoor open air pavilion, and it really works great because it's right in nature, and it allows a lot of room for us to spread out. So, keeping COVID in mind, we still have to make some changes with that, but the daytime services are all at this pavilion outside, and then the evening services are provided at a local high school.
Okay. So now, I know this is a big, huge part. Is this the main part of your program, or what do you do for the remainder of the year? Or do you gear up every year to do this particular event?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it does take the year to plan the stand down each and every year. And we have many volunteers, about 350 volunteers it takes to put that event on. But on a daily basis, we also can help our veterans with employment services. So we have an office in downtown Newport Richey, and the office is called One Community now, but the program is Connections Job Development. And when they come in there, we have a computer lab. So if they need some help, processing, filing a claim or anything like that, they're welcome to use that. But our focus is really on trying to empower them to be employable. Okay. So we help them with writing resumes, and we do mock interviews with them. We have workshops that maybe touch on financial resources, but also just on that readiness to work.
And then how do you help them transition their skill set from being in the military to making it, relatable to the community? Because so many of our veterans have amazing talents. And how do you transition maybe what they did for our country or what they did previously and make it current?
Well, we find that as we have one-on-one coaching with them and we can pull that out of them, we find out, what did you do while you were in the military? What did you do before? What do you like to do? So we try to assess what skills they have, and then we also work with different employers in the community. They reach out to us and they let us know what they're looking for. And so many employers are willing to help the veterans. They're grateful for the service that they've provided our nation. So we have some great employers, but we also have some organizations that are providing the tools that can reskill the veterans and retrain them in areas.
So in light of COVID, are any of these services going to be virtual or held online in a way that veterans can access them until you have your program in the spring?
Well, the Connections Job Development, our office is open. They can come in. We have spaced out computers, and of course, most of our counseling is one-on-one, or our coaches are one-on-one experiences. We do some smaller workshops. We're keeping those limited to about 6 people at a time in a conference room. So we're trying to keep it as much live as possible. There are some online resources available that they can download and read through, but we find that most of the veterans that we're working with, especially the homeless ones and the at-risk, they may not have access to computers and internet, and they may not have as many computer skills. So we feel we're more successful by having them come in and meet with us.
So I have one final question.
Sure.
You're helping so many people. How do you screen who gets the opportunity to come to your weekend event? Because that's a life-changing opportunity. My mind keeps going back to you get free dental, free health, legal services, go get your driver's license back, good healthy food, a place to stay. That brings about the concept of dignity back, and can certainly help with transitioning you, or at least putting you on the right path to employment and some sense of renormalcy. How do you screen to determine who gets to go?
Well, we open it to any veteran. So if they can prove that they're a veteran, so most of them have their VA card that they show us when they come and check in. We take pre-registration, and so with those, we're able to get those names in early, especially if they need court assistance. We can pass that on to the court, and they can start pulling that client's files. But we have our local Pasco County Veteran Service officers there, and so if a vet did come in and they didn't have any kind of proof, we can look them up in the system. So like I said, it's open to any vets, but it's really focused on those that are homeless and at risk, because the goal is to try to help them transition back into civilian life.
Well, thank you, Patty. You do an awesome job, and I'm certain that many people in the community appreciate the time that you give to making sure that our veterans can reacclimate to society and are contributing members. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome, and thank you for this project. Gus Bilirakis has been a great supporter of our stand down, and so he's always looking for ways to help the veterans. So we are just grateful that we can serve them for them serving us.
We're very grateful for him. He's just a wealth of resources for our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm honored today to speak to yet another person who's providing services to the community, Stephen Davis with United Way of Pasco. And I'd just like to have a little bit of conversation with you about what you do. So many people know your name, but what is it that United Way does?
Thank you so much for actually inviting me and the United Way of Pasco County. And also thank you to Congressman Bilirakis' office for their continued advocacy for the veteran community. At the United Way of Pasco County, our mission is to identify the most pressing needs in the community and develop resources to address those needs through measurable results.
Okay, so then how do you go about doing that?
So the primary revenue generation for us is through workplace campaigns. So we run workplace campaigns to develop resources, and we allocate those resources to nonprofit agencies in the community based on the community needs. So we go through an allocations process that kind of looks at the needs of the community and chooses which nonprofit agencies to fund and become partners. Last year, we chose to fund about 40 nonprofit agencies, allocating about $1 million to those agencies within the community.
And of those agencies, do those agencies specifically care for veterans in some way?
So there's a lot of overlap.
Yes.
So a lot of the issues that we're funding disproportionately affect veterans. So we fund probably about 2 agencies that you already spoke to today: Bay Area Legal Services, One Community Now. Those are some of our partners. I also think the board wants to also put a little bit more focus behind some veteran initiatives. So I think you'll see that in our upcoming grant cycle that's just concluding probably in October as well. So we fund a lot of different programs, from housing needs to food needs, so a variety of things.
So how do you go about this data? So for example, for Pasco, do you talk to veterans themselves? Do you just drill down the geographic makeup? Do you drill down drill down equity challenges with housing insecurity or food insecurity or employability? How do you determine how you're going to allocate the funds based on what you said is the data from the community needs?
So we have an all volunteer allocations process. So we recruit a lot of variety of people to sit on our allocations committee. Last year we had probably over 100 volunteers from the community that sit down on these panels as these agencies come and present their needs. And people from the community who know the community best are looking at it and deciding where to put those resources to best address the needs of the community as well. At the end of the day, our board is also making huge decisions as well, and they're really attuned to the community as well.
How many applications do you have?
This most recent cycle, we had about 70 applications, about $2 million in funding. Most of the time, the ask are at least double what we have to allocate as well.
So you had 70 applications, but you were able to fund 40 agencies?
Yes.
Yes. So for veteran-specific resources, do you go and do you share with them how to apply, how you can help them prepare a better grant so that they can, show the need in a different way? I understand the grant process. I sit on a grant process as well as for the arts.
Yeah.
But it is challenging when you have smaller agencies who are doing amazing work but may not know how to access the funds appropriately.
Yeah, most definitely. So we do a little bit of community outreach as well to different nonprofit agencies. Some of them don't necessarily know about all the resources available. So we seek them out, our board members seek them out, our volunteers seek them out as well. Our CEO is pretty experienced as well and gives a lot of insight to a lot of these nonprofit agencies as far as what we look for in our grants as well. So we try to do our best to make sure that when they're applying for the grants, they're most prepared.
Well, I have to say, with at least one community now that I just spoke to prior to you, that's an amazing resource. The money is well funded, and so partnering with agencies like that to make sure the veterans get what they need is just really outstanding and important. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our veteran community about how they can access services or be a better partner with them?
Yeah, most definitely. So what we're also known for is our 211 line. So when you call 211, it's going to connect you to resources throughout the whole community. I can speak for Pasco County that you can call on 211 on your phone, your cell phone, your landline. I know it varies to different counties, but in Pasco County, you could call on cell phone 211 and let them know what your needs are, and they can connect you to these nonprofit partner agencies as well.
So by responsible, do you say, do you run 211? Do you fund 211? What do you mean by that?
So our organization, we fund 211. So we use a third party that has a 24-hour line so that they can pick up at any time and handle those call volumes. I mean, we get tens of thousands of calls a year.
211 has been very instrumental, at least in Pinellas County. So I understand the volume you must go through to help triage services. When a person calls 211 to get to the right service quickly, what do you recommend they say?
I would recommend telling them exactly what they need. Don't beat around the bush. Just say, this is exactly what I need. I need written assistance. I owe this certain amount. Just call them and be straightforward with exactly what you need.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for your time. I would like you to share any deadlines you have, if you know, of the application process, so people know when to apply to obtain the resources.
Yeah, definitely. So we actually just wrapped up the allocations process this most recent time, and those results should be announced in October. Around springtime is when we normally send out our RFPs and ask for letters of intent. So if you're looking to get some funding, definitely reach out to us come next year.
Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you so much for everything. Thank you.
I'm here with Christy Whitford of the Veterans Administration.
Yes.
And we're just going to have a small chat about what we're doing to help our veterans. Welcome, Christy, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
Can you share a little bit about some of the challenges that you are having right now in light of COVID and what you're doing for our veterans in the community?
Yes, of course. Honestly, it's gone much better than I would have anticipated. We've been able to really, as an agency, be flexible and find alternative ways to reach out to our veterans. And we've had a lot of success. We just got 100 cell phones delivered so that any veteran in our program that doesn't have a cell phone, has now a cell phone and that comes with a 6-month plan. And we're able to just make sure they all have the resources they need. And we've just really expanded our modalities and reaching them with as far as telehealth and there's just so many options. I've been really proud to see how we've come around and served our veterans while maintaining, healthy health for our employees and health for the veterans. And
how is telehealth going? I know that's a big topic of, veterans getting access. How does that process work for them?
Right, and that's it's going well. It's a learning curve. For some of the veterans, they're not real savvy with technology all the time, but they've been open to it, and it's been very successful. But I would say we've had more success just with cell phones and those kind of ways of reaching them.
So when you give them the cell phones, do you feel like they're more connected to actually accessing the resources?
Yes, they're able to access email from other agencies, such as the Housing Authority. That's very important for them. I would say that's one of the main things is email, because a lot of communication is happening now through email and then just to be able to talk to them and, be able to reach them has been a huge help.
I was talking to one of the other persons who works with VA, and afterwards they mentioned an app, because I said, do any of these organizations have an app? Does the VA have an app?
I'm sure we do.
Okay. To quickly get to resources.
Right, not specific to our program.
No, but so tell me a little bit about your specific program and what you do.
Sure. So I'm with the Tampa Veterans Administration. I've been there 20 years as a social worker. And I work specifically with the Healthcare for Homeless Veterans program. And we have 3 main components of our program, which would include outreach, employment, and housing. Okay. So, our mission is just to end veteran homelessness and to increase quality of life for veterans within the community by giving them access or giving them success, as far as employment, housing, those kind of things.
So on the homelessness issue, do you go reach out to them in the community and then connect them with either shelters or permanent housing or transitional housing that can help them get back to a more stable environment?
Absolutely. And one of the components of our outreach program is the Veterans Justice Outreach, where we connect veterans that are incarcerated or involved in the legal system to VA resources. Okay. And we get notified anytime an inmate identifies as a veteran, and we're able to go to the jail and enroll them in VA for medical if they haven't been enrolled. We've even been able to enroll them for benefits, so that when they are released from jail, they have an income that they didn't have before. Right. But the biggest part, of course, is connecting them with treatment, mental health and substance abuse treatment. But aside from that, we also have outreach in the community. Anytime we come across a homeless veteran or a homeless veteran is sent to us, we absolutely have resources to get them off the street immediately, and then down the road to get more stable housing, permanent housing.
It's such a challenging path when you think about all the hurdles you have to navigate with a person who, of course, have served our country well.
Right.
And the dignity, we were talking about that with some of the other conversations involved with that. And, making it sometimes, in some cases, people hard to ask for help. And then moving them from housing to providing support for mental challenges or challenges connected. So when you get to this pathway and you're trying to get to employment, how do you work with them on soft skills to make them better candidates for employers in the area?
So our employment program is very broad. We have what we call supportive employment for veterans that have mental health issues that have really prevented them from being successful in employment in the past. And it's just a lot of extra support. We have partnerships with employers so that we're kind of a go-between between the veteran and the employer to ensure their success. We also have programs for veterans that are more independent, just haven't been able to find employment. We have lots of partnerships. So basically, we have a huge range. Any veteran that is looking for employment and wants to be employed, we have services to help them no matter how significant their mental health issues are or how independent they are.
So by that, going down this path, when an employer hires someone after they know that they've worked with you and you've connected them to the services, and they know they might have someone who has some fragilities in some area, do you work with them on continued sustainability within the employment that you've paired them with?
Yes, our CWT program does that, compensated work therapy. And they have case managers assigned that are ongoing liaisons between the employer and the veteran, just to do all that we can to ensure their success.
That's a good way to make sure that they have that
Right.
continuity of care and stability.
Right.
Is there anything about your program that you want to share? Of course, again, we're so grateful that Congressman Bill Aracas wants to share this time to talk to a variety of veterans who may not know you exist and what you
Right.
do. Is there anything you want to share about your program or how they can access you or how they become eligible to apply?
Sure. Yeah, we have, like I said, we have the outreach component, the housing component, and the employment component. We do have HUD Bash is a huge part of our program, which is a partnership with the HUD that provides Section 8 specifically designed for veterans, where they're assigned a case manager that is, able to, it's a licensed clinical social worker that's able to fill in the gaps of why, when people become chronically homeless, there's usually a reason, mental health or substance abuse, some kind of issue, which is why we provide case management to make sure that they're successful in housing. So I guess any homeless veteran, that's out there, we have emergency housing that we can place them in prior to getting placed in HUD Bash. And I would just, we have a hotline that they're a crisis hotline that they can call and get connected specifically in the area that they live, and we will reach out to them.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
I appreciate everything you're doing to make sure that our community is stronger.
Yes,
So thank you.
My privilege. Thank you.
Today, we are honored to have worked all day with Congressman Bill Aracas' team. I'm going to say army of angels who help veterans in our community access really important resources to transform their lives. I've spent the day talking to several individuals who make an extreme difference in our community. And our last speaker today here is Jana Balaki of St. Vincent de Paul Cares. There's been a lot of names today, so I've been practicing. So please tell me a little bit about your agency and how you help veterans in our community.
So St. Vincent de Paul Cares was founded around 1985, and really with the mission to alleviate pain and suffering, with really a vision to respect people and recognizing we build everything on the dignity of people, and that we try and harness their will and their power to end homelessness and also alleviate poverty and just to better our community. The services, just overall services we provide are shelter services. We have shelter services for families, individuals. We have transitional housing for veterans. We operate a thrift store, community-based thrift store that also provides vouchers for the clients that we serve in the shelter. We provide rapid rehousing services to about 16 counties throughout Florida. And just to kind of talk a little bit about rapid rehousing, just to give a base, rapid rehousing is part of a strategy to end homelessness. So when we look at people who are in homelessness, there's kind of three kind of places that they fall. Initially, if someone has just entered homeless for the first time, loss of a job or an illness, and have a history of pretty sound housing stability, they may just take a very minimal, if any, kind of intervention. Usually they self-resolve. And then there's the group in the middle that maybe due to a loss of job or a combination of things that usually involves, they've ended up homeless and they're struggling to get out of homelessness. And that's where rapid rehousing really finds its place as a strategy to pull people out of homelessness quickly. house them quickly, and then work to provide wraparound services to help them sustain housing. And then the group of people who it's more chronic and they have more chronic conditions, permanent supportive housing is a housing strategy for them. It's longer term. It may be, as long as they need supportive services. It might include subsidies, where rapid rehousing is shorter term in nature, 6 months to a year typically, where we provide financial assistance and then vocational services, case management, housing location. So those are the services that St. Vincent de Paul Cares is involved with. And around 2011, 2012 is when they first received the contract from the VA for supportive services for families. So we refer to it as SSVF. Okay. We always have acronyms. So SSVF, we started out in Pinellas County and Hillsborough. And now, like I said, we have SSVF services in 16 counties, and I can name them.
No, you don't have to name them.
But it's just north of us, Hillsborough, Polk, and then the Heartland area in Florida, and then southwest. So that includes Sarasota all the way down to Collier. So we are providing supportive services for veteran families in those areas, and it's all rapid rehousing. We also do prevention services for veterans. And it's part of the SSVF program. So it allows us to, when a veteran who's eligible, and I'll share that in a moment, if they get behind in their rent, if they get behind in their utilities, and this really, I think, applies especially to right now with what we're going through, we're able to assist with financial assistance. And if someone is literally homeless, they would fall under rapid rehousing. And we work with them to get them into housing as quickly as possible. Typically 30 to 90 days is the goal. We don't
30 to 90 days of getting them into housing?
To get them into housing. Okay. So we work with people that are straight, either they're on the street, living in their car, or they might be in a shelter. And the goal really is to get them out of those environments that are very traumatic and get them in a place where they can start looking at those things that have contributed to their homelessness. So once we house someone, then the case managers really work to identify those barriers for that client. It's very individualized. It's different for everybody. And the goal is to help them stabilize in housing and then sustain it and not enter back into homelessness.
So I have so many questions swimming in my head, and one of them is, of course, how your agency has handled the change from pre-COVID to now. And then there's always challenge with transitions when someone is homeless or has housing insecurity about how you find them, locate them, and keep them engaged as you're trying to place them in your rapid housing. And then lastly, the question is, in light of some of the barriers being lifted for evictions, how are you going to handle the spike since you do housing literally across our state?
So to start with COVID, so when COVID started, our agency really focused on that we were essential workers. So as far as providing homeless services, our shelter did not shut down. We continued to have people come in. We did work on very diligently on social distancing and all of the CDC guidelines, implementing those. We did have to reduce census just because of having to give people space and that. Our programs with SSVF, we continued to work. We have implemented a remote working situation as well, just to reduce the numbers in our office, to try and, it is a challenge. We're focusing on the safety and health of our staff. But recognizing that our clients are very at risk. And so, we've implemented things to help with the safety and well-being of our staff, as well as still supporting our clients that we have. Either we're looking for housing for them, or we are supporting them in their housing as they're already in. With the onset of COVID, the VA has released great deal of funds to really address, and they have prioritized those veterans that are literally on the street and that are also in shelter at risk of contracting COVID. It initially started with veterans that were high risk, so they were older, may had health conditions that would compromise or be a higher risk. And then they opened it up to any veteran that's on the street. So we have throughout the 16 counties, probably close to 300 veterans in motels that we've placed in emergency housing. 140 just here in Pinellas County. And these are veterans that we very rapidly were referred. We're working very closely with the VA. We're working with the med centers and the hospitals and also the shelters to identify veterans that are literally homeless. So we've gotten them into the emergency shelters, and they are being enrolled in rapid rehousing. So we also are working to house them. Just in the last 3 months, we've housed over 270 plus units, families, about 175 just here veterans. So we've continued to work. We've continued to, I'm very proud of it. I'm very impressed with the staff, the people that are working with the clients. They're very mission driven.
Yes.
And although we're working to, like I said, protect them, but also protect the clients, that it's been challenging, I think stressful, but to watch people rise to the occasion has been very impressive.
Yes. Which always is, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking as you're talking, you know, the multitude of mental challenges that happen, not necessarily related to cognitive issues, but degenerative issues because of isolation and the additional stress of life right now. I mean, if you know a veteran or you know someone who's ever experienced homeless or homeless insecurity, it's not just the physical act, of course, of not having, you know, a space to breathe.
Yeah.
And although we have this beautiful state, it's hot. And, you know, there are spaces that are not welcome. So I'm sure when you actually get and peel off those layers, that it's quite challenging.
Yeah, and, you know, we, like I said, we've been able to maintain contact. We've hired additional staff to help with the increase in clients that we're serving. You had asked about the outreach and finding veterans. You just mentioned the challenge with things closing. There, you know, places aren't open that used to be open where veterans were. So when we are referred veterans, we are. It has been challenging to locate and find them. Even the shelters have closed where the veterans are there and we don't have access.
Yes.
So we've just tried to be as creative as possible. You know, we're using, you know, the phones. We're helping veterans get phones. The VA has really, they have expanded and amended some of the restrictions and criteria for SSVF to allow us to do additional services for the veterans. So that's been very helpful. We've been able to kind of keep things afloat and keep veterans moving forward and housing them. The challenge with the eviction piece that we're not sure how that is all going to play out. What we are fortunate is right now is we're able to do prevention. So where we're finding veterans, and we've publicized our number and our contact information for veterans or service providers that work with veterans to be able to reach out to us and see if they're eligible for prevention services, if they get behind in their rent or utilities because they lost their job due to COVID or were not able to be employed. So we've seen a spike in that, an increase in the prevention. We're anticipating seeing more as people are going to move into evictions.
Yes.
One thing that's been on the other side for us with that is we work very closely with landlords. We partner with landlords. They're very critical to what we do. And right now they don't have open units because they have not been able to follow any evictions or perform any evictions where they've had people that they no longer are eligible for their units. So we've ran into a challenge with that, the availability of housing units. But with that said, we have an amazing housing team, and they're still out there working with landlords. They've been, like I said, very creative in working through the barriers with the pandemic. We have to do inspections of every unit that we put a veteran in. And some of those inspections, the landlord's doing virtually, so they're walking around, you know, or they leave a key in the lockbox and we're able to go in. So we're just trying to figure it out and continue to do what we do.
Well, one last question. You know, I've spoken to a lot of agencies today. I think you're one of the largest ones. Before I was asking how they're partnering with other agencies. Do you all partner with other agencies, or do they rely on your resources to help with home insecurity? Because I think we've had at least 3 or 4 agencies today who do somewhat what you do on a smaller scale.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, working in the system of care and the continuum of care of homelessness, it's critical that we all work together. We all have the same goal, and you know, is to end homelessness.
Yes.
And to, you know, alleviate poverty. And so we're better together than alone. And so we have a lot of partners. Again, I talked about landlords. Landlords are a big partner of ours. They're kind of outside of our normal realm of partnerships. We partner with vocational services. We partner with Career Source. We partner with BOLI and other community-based organizations that help us with when veterans need assistance with employment services. We contract out as well and help link people to other community partners for behavioral health services, mental health, substance abuse. So that partnership is extremely important.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate all the services that you do. And thank you for partnering with Congressman Gus Bilirakis, who we've had quite a day learning, and we hope that this information is widely distributed so people know where to go when they need help.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.